And that might not seem all that important. Dino DNA.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another special episode of The Dex, where we cover trivia and battle strategies for the strange creatures known as Pokemon.
You know what trips me out, Kels?
Why don't you tell me, Boo?
Technology moves so fast. Can you believe that, when we were born, the internet was, not even a thing everyone knew about, and today we can literally get anything we need, almost instantly from a portable computer that we carry around in our pockets? It just trips me out how fast humanity progresses.
I know, I can't believe that it's been a whole year since I replaced myself with a hyper-realistic robot with a copy of my consciousness downloaded into it. It's made my life so much easier.
What? I missed the beginning of the singularity? How many of us have been replaced? Who can I trust anymore?
Come on, I was just kidding. I'm still a real human.
No matter what, I can never be 100% sure now, and that's on you.
Okay, but all this talk of tech is making me excited for today's Pokemon.
Yep, not even robots can deny how cool this dude is.
It's Genesect! Genesect is a mythical Pokemon from Gen 5 that was created by a rogue scientist from Team Plasma, who altered its prehistoric DNA and turned it into a bionic superweapon. The Genesect project was originally intended to create the strongest Pokemon ever, but N put a stop to it, claiming that altering a Pokemon's DNA took away its purity. Alas, the unnamed scientist finished the job in secret anyway, and Genesect was born.
For being such a cool concept, Genesect doesn't have much of a role in the plot of the games. It's only ever been given out as an event Pokemon, and even in the Genesect movie, it just vaguely references that Genesect was created in a laboratory, which is a bummer because the implications behind a Pokemon like Genesect existing are totally rad.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a pretty common theory about Genesect that is just too perfect not to look into today, so Genesect is gonna get double the segments so that we can get the whole picture here.
Whoa, that's pretty cray, bro. So what's the theory? And is it legit or just a bunch of hooey?
It's time to find out, Pokebusters style. So if Genesect is a genetically modified prehistoric Pokemon, then the question we're all asking ourselves is, what was it before its genes got spliced? And the popular answer to this question is that Genesect was created from Kabutops.
The main supporting evidence for this theory comes from Genesect's Pokedex entries and the entries for Kabuto, which both state that the Pokemon is from 300 million years ago. Compelling, but there's just too much margin for error there. I mean, they could both refer to exactly 300 million years ago, but usually with a number that large, we estimate.
However, there's a lot to be said for similarities in behavior. Kabutops and Genesect are both described as skilled hunters, and they hunt by folding their arms and launching their compact bodies at their prey. You can't deny that the overall shape of their bodies is pretty similar as well. They both got the same look.
But what about the glaring differences? Kabutops' rock water typing and Genesect's bug steel typing is a huge one. Plus, yeah, their bodies look kinda similar, but honestly, I see more similarities between Genesect and Scizor than I do with Kabutops. And look at that shiny! It's the same! It's the same Pokemon. I can't even tell which one is which one. They're the same. They're both red. It's impossible to tell the difference.
Well, maybe you're onto something there. I mean, we know for a fact that Pokemon have common ancestors through the likes of Mew and Archeops, so maybe this is yet another example. Consider another Dex entry of Kabutops, this one from Aura. The Pokemon was apparently evolving from being a water dweller to living on land, as evident from the beginnings of change in its gills and legs.
And that might not seem all that important, but between 300 and 350 million years ago on Earth was an era called the Carboniferous period, and during this specific time, life was starting to more confidently move inland, vastly diversifying the types of species that lived above water. Genesect might not be a Kabutops, but rather the thing Kabutops became when it started to primarily dwell on land.
That can't be all that far off, and since crabs and insects are both arthropods, they could still be closely related even without sharing a type. And then I'd argue that Scyther and Scizor could also be a descendant of whatever that proto-Genesect was. That would account for the similarities in their legs and their matching typings, and it would also connect the characteristic blade arms of Scyther to Kabutops too.
Wow, so instead of straight up confirming that Genesect was once a Kabutops, we've kind of arrived at Genesect being a missing link between Kabutops and Scizor? I guess that means we can't call it totally busted.
Agreed. In fact, with all the supportive evidence for a larger Pokemon evolutionary tree that we've covered in past episodes, I think that this is more likely at least partly true than false. And that means that it's our first plausible.
Yay! I believe that. Nice, but I wish we could see what Genesect looked like before all those genetic modifications too. That could really give us some solid evidence one way or the other.
True, but those modifications are a key part of Genesect, and they're gonna unlock some of the lingering questions about its place in the Pokemon lore.
Smells like the Pokemon creation myth. is about to tear it up in here. Get your noses ready for that. Oh yeah, Pokemon creation myth, etc.
Better, but that just sounded gross.
Whatever, Android. As we mentioned before, Genesect is pretty mysterious. We don't know a lot about its past or why it was created in the first place, aside from Team Plasma's directive to genetically modify the strongest of all Pokemon. Aside from that, what does Genesect contribute to what we know about Pokemon as a whole?
Get with me on this for a second. It's basically confirmed by now that Pokemon is a narrative in which multiple universes exist for surezies in canon. The Delta episode in Oros proves that. There's also Pokemon series' habit of referencing real-world things in Pokedex entries. Delibirds mentions Mount Everest, Raichu and Ghastlies mention Indian elephants, and the list goes on and on.
But Genesect is unique because it's the only Pokemon that provides us with a specific time period in history, and actually, it provides us with two. First comes its species name, which, as you may or may not know, is the Paleozoic Pokemon.
In our world, the Paleozoic era lasted between 250 and 500 million years ago, with that Carboniferous period we mentioned earlier happening right around the year 300 million. That means the Paleozoic eras in our world and the Pokemon world happened at relatively similar points in the planet's history, and this supports evidence that the Pokemon world and our own world are very similar to one another, parallel universe-wise.
It's not super solid evidence on its own, but Genesect has another important historical flag too. The fact that its form is altered by drives, the burn, douse, shock, and chill drives. And in addition to the chill drive sounding like the most me thing ever, in Japan these things were known as cassettes, which is revealing.
See, knowing the technology of an era can be an indispensable clue in pinpointing time period as well. The first hard drives capable of data storage were invented in the 1950s, and whether it's hard drives, flash drives, floppy disks, or cassettes, they point us firmly to a much smaller window of time. Data drives hit peak production in 2010, and with advances in technology happening at such a quick rate, they are likely to be completely replaced by a more efficient form of technology within 50 years.
The fact that Genesect operates on a drive system means that the Pokemon world is developing technologically at a relatively similar rate to our own world. And if the Paleozoic periods match and modern inventions match, we're looking at two universes that are so parallel that they bleed into one another and have similar landmarks, devices, and cultures.
You might remember us talking about Hoopa a long while back, when we posited that it was responsible for creating an opening between the human world and the Pokemon world in the past, with that rift between parallel dimensions being how humans ever got to that world in the first place. Having two verifiable time periods match up in both worlds lends a lot more plausibility to that theory, even though it might not be exactly the same point in their history, because let's be honest, we are not quite at warp panels and spinning floors just yet.
And even if this is all crackpot, though at this point I'd like to think it's not, given how everything in Pokemon seems so well connected, it's pretty awesome still to think that our own universe is somehow part of the Pokemon canon. It's super meta, but hey, anything that gets me closer to having a real-life Jolteon is okay by me. It's all just threads in a grand Poke Mythos tapestry, and hopefully one day we'll finally know the full picture.
Man, no matter how often I do it, I never get tired of nerding out about the origins of Pokemon, dude. It just gets me pumped.
I'm surprised your cold robot body can feel any emotions at all, Kels.0.
That's not my name. I'm not a robot. I told you that was just a joke.
Well, you won't be laughing when I show you how Genesect can be used to kick butt in battle. That's something only humans can figure out.
I think I'll follow along then.
Pokemon!
That's my line.
Okay, so we don't really have a battle strategy. Just train in special attack, give it Techno Blast, teach plenty of coverage moves. It's Genesect. It's super strong. You'll be fine. Don't even worry about it. Just, you do it. You got it.
I guess that's okay with me. For some awesome new Dexware, follow the link in the description for our store at theyeti.com/thedex. And while you're down there, why not check out the Dex Discord, where there's something for every last kind of Pokemon fan. And just recently, we started hosting tournaments and streams there too. It's all been real good fun.
Click on one of these box guys for more dope trivia and strategy about all kinds of different Pokemon. And while you have a second, why not acknowledge all the Patreon patrons you can see on screen right now, who not only support us financially, but also provide tech support whenever we have a networking issue with Kels's robot body.
Looks like you're the one with the virus.
Yep, I'm Plasma Admin Alex.
We're robots. Tune in next week for a launch of another episode of
The Dex.